Today we're going to talk about what I read in the month of June. It's officially May, which is saddening to me because I love Pride Month and all of the things that happen at Pride, despite the fact that I don't participate in any of them. There was a huge Pride festival every year in Utah, and like thousands of people go to it, and it's majority corporations like airlines and banks and things like that, and they just give you free stuff with their logo on it. So I stopped going to that Pride Festival, and instead they held a smaller Pride Festival. Instead of corporations, it has like nonprofits and organizations, Pride organizations, and then small artists. And it was wonderful. It was so nice. It was nice to not be surrounded by corporations and cops the entire time, and protests and everything that comes along with the bigger Pride Festival. So it was really nice and fun, and my wife got some cute little art, and yeah, it was a fun month. I didn't really do much. I'm a bad gay. I read 5 books this month, 4 of which were regular books, and then 1 was a graphic novel. A really short graphic novel too. I read it in one sitting, which is rare for me. And let's go over them. The first book I read was Sweet Bean Paste. This book was just really sweet, and it's hard to talk about it without going into spoilers, but it has a whole culture that I had never known about. And I can't really say what that culture is because you don't find out about it until halfway through the book. But this is basically about a man who makes dorayaki, and which is basically a type of pancake filled with sweet bean paste. And he comes across a woman who is pretty old, and she says that she makes the best sweet bean paste and that she would like to work with him. And then he ends up trying it, and it's the best sweet bean paste he's ever tasted. So she ends up working there, but he doesn't tell his boss that she's working there, and he doesn't want her to be seen by the customers because she's really old and she's got some damage to her hands, and he's concerned about what people will think. But it basically is the story of the friendship of these two, and then another girl that shows up later who is just a girl from the local high school. It's a really sweet book. It gets pretty sad. You learn about things, at least I learned about something that I didn't really know about, where a group of people that faced pretty harrowing circumstances. Pretty interesting to learn about this new culture that I had never known about. The next book I read was Brutes by Diz Tate. This is a story about basically a hive mind of girls, kind of like Virgin Suicides, how it's a group of boys that all gets told from all of their point of views at once. This is about a group of girls who are fascinated with the preacher's daughter, and then the preacher's daughter goes missing. And so they are a very strange group of girls. They get obsessed to the point of stalking, to watching her house outside their window with binoculars. They end up following around this girl's best friend and her boyfriend, and they just want to learn everything about these girls. They're obsessed with them, and they to the point where they will figure out what nail polish color they have, and they will go and buy that exact nail polish and will wear it until they see these girls wearing something else. And so the interesting thing about this book is that you don't really know what's happening. It is a very strange book, and as long as you're kind of okay with not really knowing what's going on and not really being able to follow the plot too well, it's a pretty good book. It's fascinating to see how far these girls will go to get to know these people and the danger that they put themselves in. I did kind of a reading vlog. I don't know if I'm going to actually post it or not because I don't know. But I did read Winter Lost by Patricia Briggs. This is book number 14 in this series. I've been reading this series since I was 15 years old in 2006. And so it has a special place in my heart. It's one of my favorite series. If I had a favorite shelf, it would probably sit on that shelf. But my books need to be separated because half of them are hardcover and half of them are mass market paperbacks, and so they look wild on a shelf together, and I just can't do it. It's not aesthetically pleasing. This book series is about a woman named Mercy who turns into a coyote. It came out during a very big vampire, werewolf, supernatural time period of books, and in my life as well. It was the perfect thing for my life at the time because I was very into vampires and werewolves and all of that kind of stuff. If that sounds interesting to you, please check the trigger warnings on this, because this woman goes through so much in these 14 books. It's a lot of violence, and they mention those things through every book. Like, something horrible happens in like book 3 and it still gets mentioned in this book here. So I would check the trigger warnings because it does get a little bleak at times. This book in particular had more of a murder mystery vibe to it. Something gets stolen from an ancient fae, and he creates a giant snowstorm in order to prevent a bunch of people from the lodge leaving because they stole something from him. And so there's kind of a murder mystery whodunit vibe without any murder. But it's basically them just trying to figure out who stole this artifact and trying to save a bunch of lives, and it's got a lot of action to it. It's very sweet, but like, she's married at this point and it's very sweet. Their relationship is very cute. I'm not a romance person, but it's a very sweet relationship. But there's also violence, so just to be forewarned. This is The Mighty Nine, which is the second campaign. If you don't know, Critical Role is a Dungeons and Dragons actual play show, and they have been slowly turning a lot of their stories into graphic novels. These are really interesting to read because I like getting new insights into characters of a campaign that's over, and I like revisiting these characters, but they are so short. These are the shortest graphic novels I've ever seen in my life. And this one in particular, I feel like doesn't touch on anything new. You don't really get anything new from this character. Could just be me, but I feel like I didn't get any new insights into this character. It was nice to revisit the world of Critical Role and the Mighty Nine and seeing all of those characters again. But you gotta make your shit longer. Like, I own all of them, but they're so short. And I feel like it just needs something more. That's all. I totally forgot about the library book that I got. It's called On Darker Shore, I think is what it's called. I'll put it right here. I returned it, so I completely forgot about it. It is a book about I believe she is described on the cover of the book as a plain-faced, plus-sized autistic girl. And in the city that she lives in, they sacrifice teenagers to an ancient god or ancient monster, and they've been doing it for years, and she is convinced that she's going to be the one that is sacrificed because she is poor and she isn't beautiful according to her. And in actuality, and it's a very religious town, and so there's a lot based on purity and doing good deeds. So if you do something wrong, you're more likely to get sacrificed to this monster. And instead of her, it ends up being the boy that she's in love with, and she decides to go to this island to the monster, to where the monsters are, in order to get revenge. I would not read the blurb on this book because I feel like it gives away too much information. Luckily, I didn't really read it before I saw autistic and was like, yeah, I'll read it. It gives kind of Tress of the Emerald Sea vibes. It was a really good book. I liked that the main character, and the boy that she was in love with were both autistic. It was weird because it mentioned on the blurb that she was autistic, but they don't actually say the word autistic until the very end of the book. Like, she doesn't know what that is. She just knows that she's different. She doesn't fit in very well. She's always saying the wrong thing that, like, offends people. And she doesn't really have context for it. But I liked that it wasn't just one character that was autistic, it was multiple. And it didn't really hinder her in doing anything. Like, it hindered her standing in society. But apart from that, it didn't stop her from fighting these monsters. It didn't stop her from making friends in the end. And yeah, it was really good. It got a little slow in the middle. It got a little... I'm not the biggest description person, and there were quite a bit of just describing the I think they consider it hell that she goes to. And I'm just like, I get it. It's rock and fire. I don't really need it described to me anymore. It's fine. You could just skip over it next time. Okay, let's talk about the books that I'm planning on reading in the month of July. I'm currently in the middle of this book, Something More, and it looks like a romance book. Like, my wife even pointed it out and said, "Are you reading a romance book right now?" I think there's a love triangle, obviously, from the cover, but the reason I picked this up is because it's about a girl going into high school, and she just found out that she's autistic, and she's trying to hide the fact that she's autistic from all of her classmates and all of her friends. And she has these goals where she's going to make friends, she's going to meet a boy, and like all of these things, but she's not going to tell anybody that she's autistic. And so that sounded intriguing to me. And as an autistic person myself, I haven't read a lot of novels about autistic characters, just because I was diagnosed only a year ago. And so I haven't come across too many books with autistic characters. So I'm kind of just like grabbing at all of them. And so even though this is kind of a younger young adult, because she's only 15 and I'm used to reading young adult books that skew a little older, like 18, 19, that kind of thing. And it definitely is written in kind of a younger voice. So far, I'm only on page 62. It's very juvenile, and like her inner monologue is all about boys and things like that, and like what she looks like, and she's very concerned with all of those things, and it just reminds me of being 15 again. So yeah, I'm really interested to see how that goes and how autism is represented in this book. So far, it's hasn't really hindered her too much. She mostly will just say the wrong thing, like she'll be too blunt and will offend some people without realizing it, and then occasionally she'll miss looks that people have between each other, like she won't realize what they are trying to convey, and she'll miss context that way. Next book I want to read is, I said I was going to read this last month, but then I went to the library and picked up a different book instead, and then two books came out and I read those instead. So I think I'm going to try and read this book this month, see if I get around to it. I'm a mood reader, so sometimes these TBRs may not even make sense to do, but Notes on Execution is about a man who's on death row for being a serial killer, and it's more about the main three women that he affected with his crime. So I've heard it's really good, and I don't know a lot about this book, so I'm just excited to read it. It's got pretty small font, but I'm also reading a young adult novel right now, so that may be why this one seems so small. The last book I think I'm going to read, which hopefully I get around to more and I'll just pick some random ones, is Convenience Store Woman. I love this cover. I think it's so cute. But this is about a girl who works at a convenience store, and she's constantly being told by her friends and family that she needs to do more with her life. Yeah, so she basically is being told by everyone that she needs to do something with her life, and that she is wasting her life working at a convenience store, but she feels completely fulfilled just doing that herself. And I kind of relate to that. I work in the transportation industry as a dispatcher, and it's not what I got a degree in. But, it's perfectly fine. I think it's a fine job. I don't understand why people will ask me, well, when are you going to do something with your degree? And I'm like, never. It's just a pretty piece of paper and a lot of debt. College was fun, though. So, okay, I think think that's it. Let me know what you are planning on reading down in the comments, and I'll see you next time.